Welcome to the Chalk Talk season finale. I'm Chris Love.
I'm Jane Mackey.
I have a beach ball.
Chalk Talk is presented by U.S. Sailing with support from Zim Sailing. And you know, we mention these companies every week, but now here at the end of the season, I want to just reiterate exactly how grateful we are. Without these sponsors, we wouldn't have a show, and we really appreciate their support of college sailing. We hope that the college sailing community will return the favor and support these guys as well.
Yeah, if you're looking for a good holiday gift this season, US Sailing offers a great college membership. It lasts for 4 years, so if you haven't got one yet, head on over to racing.ussailing.org/college right now.
And we'll hear from Zim a little bit later in the program, but they've also got a website, zimsailing.com. Now let's see what you submitted for the final Zim photo assignment of the year, bundled coaches. We had 4 nominees for this week's Stud of the Week. Let's see who you picked.
This past weekend was the last dinghy event for the fall for most teams in college sailing. We had the women's ACCs and the co-ed ACCs, which was down in sunny South Carolina at the College of Charleston, where they were sailing over on Crab Bank, which is sort of not the usual place that they race in Charleston. Usually we're used to racing on the Cooper River, but old Howie took the party over to Crab Bank, which makes for some challenging conditions with a lot of cross current and shifty breeze, different depths, so pretty challenging stuff. What do we got here?
Well, everybody except Zeke pretty much thought Yale was going to win, being ranked number 1 all season, but in fact it was the actual number 1 team, Georgetown, coming off their win at Navy Fall, showing a lot of maturity here with Nevin Snow getting it done in A Division and Alex Post, the skipper, in B Division, taking the win for the fall championship.
Yep, Yale comes in 3rd overall. Graham Landy sailing well, barring some 17th and 18th finishes. Ouch. Ian Barrow's got some good sailing time in B Division, giving the freshmen some practice in the big leagues.
And evidently, to everybody's surprise, every now and then Chris Love comes up with a good point about college sailing and mentioned the Old Dominion University Monarchs, who have a knack for showing up when it counts. Things like the semifinals, where they're not really on anyone's radar screen. They show up and dominate. Big shout out to Esteban, who I yelled at a few weeks ago, and I've been just feeling awful about it, losing sleep for the last couple of weeks, but he crushed it, winning B Division. Really awesome and pretty surprising performance from ODU. So let's continue to watch these guys, see how they train through the spring and get ready for the big race.
Well, Zeke's going to blame it on the Crab Bank, but Charleston did not dominate at home the way he thought they might. Davidson looked good in B Division, but they just didn't round it out overall. They end up tying Dartmouth for 4th. Take off the maroon blinders, Zeke.
So it was good for everyone sailing up at Cornell, the women's ACCs. It was not as cold as we talked about it being for us sailing the Lasers a couple of years back. I heard that execution was key to winning this weekend. You had to play to win your side. You couldn't sail conservatively. So how did the girls do?
Well, I knew they had it in them. Dartmouth Big Green gets it done, clinching this year's prediction contest. For me, 9 seasons of predicting winners pays off. Fun to watch here. Deirdre Lambert back in her Nationals form, winning A Division, and then Dartmouth splitting B Division, just like we saw at Spring Nationals, between Kelsey Wheeler and Sarah Williams skippering, enough to get it done and take the win for Dartmouth.
Yeah, no huge surprises here other than Chris being right. Deirdre crushes A, Erica right there with her, everybody else a little bit off the pace. But how about the freshman from Coast Guard, Nikki Barnes, who wins B Division? I wasn't really aware of her so much, but she showed up. She's pretty good.
Also a bit of a surprise, Charleston finishes 3rd overall.
And while we're at it, Yale finishing 6th. Another favorite to win, just not getting it done at the championship.
Yeah, I think both the Yale teams were a bit upset about not being ranked number 1 from Meredith last week. Really got to them. And Navy somewhat disappoints. I don't think they did as well as they could have. Mary had a perfectly respectable 5th in A Division. Marissa didn't do altogether horrible in B, but not really their peak performance of the season, so a bit disappointing for Navy as well.
The West Coast also had their Pacific Coast Championships this weekend, with Stanford edging out UC Santa Barbara by 1 point in the 3-division scoring. They also score at 2 divisions with just the dinghies, and UC Santa Barbara handily defeats Stanford and 20 other teams to become the Pacific Coast Dinghy champions. Also, check out these amazing photos from Tufts coach Ken Legler. This is from last Thursday. Their Dark of Night regatta sailed just after sunset. Unfortunately, no wind, but a gorgeous night.
So leading into the college match racing nationals this weekend, we thought we would catch up with the guy who won the first ever college match racing national championship for Boston College. That's Taylor Canfield, who you guys probably know has been out on the world tour, kind of crushing it all over the place recently, earning his team an ISAF #1 ranking. So we're going to get the inside scoop from Taylor on what it takes to win a match race nationals.
We're honored today to be joined by the world's #1 ranked match racing skipper, Taylor Canfield. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
You've been match racing for a while. Obviously, before college, you got a lot of experience and a whole lot more experience after college. What got you into it, and what's got you so hooked to this format of sailing?
I think probably the thing that got me most interested in match racing was seeing Peter Holmberg, fellow Virgin Islander, competing in the Argo Gold Cup when I was competing in an Opti Regatta in Bermuda. And I saw that and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I want to be on the world tour, and this is what I want to do. So got involved in a couple of youth match races in the U.S. One of the bigger ones most people have probably heard of is Governor's Cup. And kind of just started there, and then went to all the U.S. match race championship qualifier events and qualified for a few of those, and just started to build the ranking, and then you get invited to other events. So that's kind of the whole process in the food chain.
And looking at this year's entries and the entries in the past few years, it really seems like there's a growing pool of talent here in the U.S. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing more interest among younger sailors and people being inspired by the Governor's Cup?
Yeah, definitely. The Governor's Cup is obviously a great event for getting involved in match racing and getting the youth involved, but there's some other great organizations, one for which I currently work for, or just stopped working for, actually, Chicago Match Race Center, and then also Oak Cliff Sailing Center out in New York. And both organizations are doing a great job setting up youth clinics, setting up youth regattas. So, I think Dave Perry's doing a lot of youth involvement as well. So, there's a lot more opportunities to get involved in match racing as a young sailor now in the United States. And, that didn't really exist a few years ago when I was getting started. So, for all you guys that are interested in learning about it, getting involved, definitely take advantage of the opportunities.
College is a great experience, but it's really a one-off event. What's the pathway after college to follow in your footsteps and try to make it to the world tour?
Yeah, it's kind of crept up so quickly on me even, but I think the biggest thing is, I found a job that was obviously both flexible with schedule and also allowed me to continue to train throughout the year. So, if you're passionate about continuing sailing, no matter what avenue you choose to take, Olympic sailing, match racing, just finding a job that's going to be flexible and allow you to travel and get away from work or for weeks at a time, I think is the biggest thing. And I was especially fortunate to get linked up with Chicago Match Race Center because it allowed me to do both, train and work at the same time in my respective fields. So, but yeah, again, there's plenty of opportunities to do some part-time coaching if you're looking to do more full-time sailing after school.
Well, best of luck to you in the upcoming World Tour event. And do you have any insight predictions for who's going to win this weekend?
I'm looking forward to seeing my Eagles in action, Boston College, but I think it's going to be a tough event. I think Yale was the other qualifier from NISA who is looking strong, and I'm a big NISA supporter, obviously, but I think probably going to be a tough, as it always is.
All right, thanks, Taylor. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Zim Sailing is thrilled to announce the addition of the Hartley 10 and 12. Junior program directors across the country will take note that these are the perfect training boats. The polyethylene construction provides the durability customers have come to expect from the Zim brand. The 10-footer only weighs 99 pounds and the 12 only weighs 137 pounds, making them very easy to move for young sailors.
Now, predicting a match race championship is one of the hardest things you can do in college sailing. The best fleet racers are not always the best match racers. The best ranked skippers for match racing don't always find success if they don't have an awesome crew to back it up. So we did a little bit of research here. We have some of the teams that we expect to be sailing this weekend. Take us through it, guys.
So Tufts clearly had the best teamwork last year, and that's why they were so dominant. But another factor that's really important is whether the teams actually have access to the boats to practice in. So if we look at the teams that have had practice in the boats, Charleston, they definitely have access to boats down there. Florida also has good access to boats. Georgetown can head over to Annapolis to get some good sailing in. I heard that Stanford found a sonar down in San Diego. So these guys have had a bit of practice. We also know that Yale has Dave Perry as an asset. So I think this is an important factor that we'll be seeing come into play as these races take their teams to the water.
As Chris alluded to earlier, it's really hard to put these teams, to rank them against each other because they don't match race ever all that often. But if we look at the NISA champs as an example, we saw the defending champion Tufts not even qualify this year. BC had an excellent performance there, who's a team that I wouldn't necessarily say is the favorite to win this, but I think it just shows the depth of talent at this year's Nationals, and it's a really deep fleet. I'd say any number of 6 schools could come away with this championship.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Georgetown with skipper Nevin Snow, who's a veteran Gov Cup racer. Had a good run last year, but just missed the finals. And returning with an experienced crew, Alex Post, AJ Ryder, and Katia De Silva. Kind of a mix there of dinghy sailing, match racing, and keelboat experience. I think Georgetown's going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, St. Mary's is also going to be looking really good out of Mesa. Jake Ladow is now going to be skippering at his 3rd consecutive college match race nationals in as many tries. He's got an experienced crew with John Wallace, who actually grew up in St. Pete, so probably has some experience on the sonars and a little bit of local knowledge down there. Ian Liberty, who's been all over, doing ISAF Youth Worlds and things like that. He was also out there being present for the Red Bull Youth Americas Cup. And Caitlin Noreen, who's got some experience on the big boats out of the Midwest.
So I know Yale is very excited for the match racing champs. Sego has a lot of experience. He'll be skippering for the 2nd time with the same crew as last year when they finished 2nd overall. So he's got Graham on tactics, Max, who also grew up in the British Virgin Islands sailing with Taylor on Maine, and Marley, which is one of their top women's skippers, sailing bow for them.
One team that might be sailing into this event a little bit under the radar is University of Michigan with Will Sear skippering. These guys have a lot of match racing experience and a lot of keelboat experience. Some of these are veterans from the offshore college sailing circuit. And if you look at the results, Will Sear and his brother Chris Sear, who has sailed all of the match races that he sailed with his brother, have a pretty impressive record out of Bayview Yacht Club and Chicago Match Race Center. So look for these guys. I don't think we're going to see them in the finals, but they might just mix it up and work their way into the semis.
So I'm also expecting Stanford to be very good. I've heard that Scott Buckstaff has been sailing match racing all summer. Very good match race skipper. Scott won the Rose Cup this past summer. He's also got Hans Henkin trimming, Cam Hutton in pit, and Mackenzie Wilson doing bow. And in terms of these players' records, Mackenzie was on the team that was 3rd at Nationals 2 years ago, so he'll be great to have there. Cam won the Newport to Bermuda race, and Hans has been sailing 49ers and is the Moth Junior World Champion. So in terms of experience, got some good sailors there, and pretty interesting mix, back to the point about pulling a team together and how they can actually do together on the day.
And if it's all the same to you guys, I'm going to put my maroon blinders just back on for a hot second. Talk about the Cougars, skippered by Ryan Davidson, who's got to be as experienced a match racer as anybody else at this regatta, just coming off 2nd place in B Division at the ACCs. Quite good, and he's sailing with one of his normal crew, Brandon Folkman, who's been sailing. They've been sailing together for a year or two now, all over the national circuit. They were third at the Gov Cup this year. They won an event at the Chicago Match Race Center and climbed all the way up to 8th in the U.S. match racing ranking. So these guys are legit. They've taken their best dinghy sailor, Jake Reynolds, and thrown him up on the pointy end to do the bow. He's got all kinds of experience doing the Red Bull Youth America's Cup, and Allie Blumenthal is on board to keep all those boys' heads together. So look for these guys to be right in the mix.
Wisco represents the Midwest with some experienced keelboat sailors and a couple new faces here at Nationals, Oregon State and University of West Florida. All right, so now you've met all the teams. What do you guys think for predictions? Not that it matters, because I already clinched this fall's prediction contest.
Whoop-de-doo. Congratulations, Chris. You're so smart. I think Yale's going to win, then Georgetown. Charleston and Stanford will round out the Final Four.
Well, I think it's going to be a close one, but I'm putting my money down on Georgetown for taking the win.
I'm going to throw Stanford into the ring for my prediction, backing the freshman skipper.
Well, we're excited to be watching this weekend. It's going to be a close one down in St. Pete. We will not be back with another episode. This is the last of the fall, but thanks to U.S. Sailing and Zim Sailing, we already have a commitment for the spring, and we can say that we'll see you then.
Good luck to everyone sailing this final weekend.